which to me is the crazy thing, right? I mean, but they're not approaching it as an intelligent partner that they can springboard ideas off of.
Yeah, right.
Right? It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
they look at it as a robot, a task manager, someone who does a
Yeah,
task. Here, do
yeah,
this for me,
right.
and I don't
Yeah,
want to have to think much about it. Just
yeah, right.
create a marketing campaign for me, and generic for whatever I do.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Whereas if you say, let's have an interaction. Let me tell you about the background. Let me tell you about what makes us special or different than other businesses. You give it all that, and it has so much more context to work with, and it can develop a much better marketing campaign because you've given it more points of data to work off of. But
Beacon
that
of
does not
context. Yeah,
that's not a single prompt. I mean, maybe you can find a way to single prompt that, but honestly, it's probably much easier for someone who doesn't understand prompting to do it through interaction.
yeah, absolutely. And that's the way I'm going at it. Because I'm at my core, Chris, I'm trying to figure out like what's the nature of this thing? What is this thing? How does it think and how does it work? And I'll tell you probably one of the breakthrough for me is I'm like, okay, I'm gonna actually just go talk to AI and I'm gonna have it teach me because it's training me as much as I'm learning. I'm like, how do you think? Like I just put one prompt in and immediately came back with something that says, well, I don't really think.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I'm more of a pattern matcher. And I'm like, oh, that explains all the data. So it's matching patterns. So then I immediately thought in my head, I'm like, oh, so if you can match patterns, can you simulate? It's like, of course, I'm great at simulating stuff. And that's where I'm thinking, oh my gosh, so I could build up a bunch of business avatars and run messaging tests against them. And so I went down that rabbit hole for like a month and got some really good results from that.
That makes sense. So one of the things I thought is I think we're all pattern matchers to an
Yeah, of
extent,
course.
right?
Yeah.
How good we are at pattern matching is one of the reasons why I loved having a breadth of knowledge because you see patterns
Hmm.
and things that
Yeah.
other people would not even realize are related.
Right. Right.
And I think AI that's the power of AI is to be able to do that. But it's even though it's pattern matching, it's also probability. It's figuring out probabilities of
Hmm.
things. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
where the human will come up and say, "Oh, I see this pattern to this thing over here," and no one else has seen that before, I'm going to call that out.
Yeah.
Versus
Right.
AI is
Right.
probably like, "Oh, that's low chance of anyone calling that out, so we'll go with the highest probability."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though AI can see it, unless you prompt it in a way to call it out, you're not going to find those kind of random off edge cases. Whereas the
Yeah.
human can default to thinking about those edge cases.
Because our brain just works in a very different way. It's just it's crazy. And so one of the things that I'm learning is because I think in AI there's two ways you can go. One is you can use AI and you can get dumber, or you can use
Hmm.
AI and you can get smarter.
Yep.
And it depends on how you want to view the relationship with this tool, right? So in my mind, I'm totally extracting out. I'm thinking, what's the nature of this thing? Like what's the nature of a cat? And then what's my relationship to it? And that's what I'm still trying to figure out.
So I often am saying now, are you outsourcing your thinking or are you augmenting your thinking?
Yeah, right,
Right.
right.
So I think that's my simplified way of saying that. I think you're getting to the behavioral aspect. So what does that mean in your
Hmm.
behavior? Right? Because if you're
Hmm.
augmenting your thinking, you're treating the tool, and it is still a tool, but you're treating it in a manner that is not very tool-like. It's much more treating it like a person, like an intelligence.
Well,
Versus when you're just outsourcing your thinking, it's just a robot that you're telling it what to do. It's a tool that does your thinking for you.
yeah, it's a very advanced tool, and there's a relationship that you have to have. It's sort of like flying an airplane. I mean, it's not like you just say go and take off. I mean, there's all this nuance to it. You need to understand its nature and
So
operate it
when
at
when you
edges, right?
interact, do you interact almost like it's a person?
I do because I just inherently that's
Well,
what I want to do.
I think this is a key thing. I think whether you want to think of it as a person or not,
Yeah.
if you act as if it's a person, that forces you in the way you're processing to act in a way where the interaction is much more constructive. I'll say.
Yeah. Could be.
Whereas if you
Yeah,
think of it just
possibly.
as a thing and you interact with it as a thing, you don't buy into its input as much, or you don't value its the feedback as much. So I'm wondering if almost the rule we should tell people is act like it's a person and talk to it like it's a person, and you'll get more augmented thinking results as opposed to.
Yeah. So this is what I would say, right? Which is not right. But I would say this. Yeah, I think imagine it's a person. Imagine you have this, young, really smart intern, but has no idea what they're doing. Like, if you wanted to write them an email back to a customer, what would you have to tell them? It would definitely be more than just write an email to this customer. You'd have to give it the context. This is, we're writing for a bank, and this is kind of our values, and this is our things, and this is the context that we want to write it in. So you might take you an hour to explain all this to get the first email out. But as soon as they understood that, now they could be writing emails. Maybe it only takes 5 minutes the next time.
So Scott, you're of a person who recognizes that there's context, there's assumptions, there's knowledge in that interaction that you're
Yes.
bringing to the table when you write that email.
Yeah, right.
I don't know that everyone thinks that way. There is that in everyone's response, and people who are better at responding have better knowledge in the background. But
Yeah.
you're thinking at it from a process perspective. What is the process here? Well, I'm bringing this knowledge, I'm bringing this ability, I'm bringing this skill together to be able to generate this artifact that I'm creating, this email
right.
that I'm creating, right? And a lot of people just inherently over time have learned, how do I write an email to respond to somebody on this, right?
Yeah, right.